YouTube Ozic going the Goat House is back, and the NFL offseason starting to kick into gear. Things are going to start getting crazy here. I got trade candidates in this video, serious trade candidates with top tier landing spots and predicting their value as well. We have our free agency prediction videos starting to roll out, so check those out. We have draft content, all kinds of coverage for the NFL. We'll be here with a bunch of signing grades as free agency starts, so join us, help us get to 100K, almost there. Appreciate you guys. Very important to follow us on Twitter for instant news and takes. I'm sick of talking about Jeudy when it comes to being a trade candidate. He comes up every trade deadline and every offseason. So let's start with Jeudy and get him out of the way. I got 15 players here. I don't know. Every time the trade deadline comes around, everyone's saying his trade value is like a second round, maybe a third at worst, and he doesn't get dealt because the Broncos are asking for that much, and he's not worth that much. So as we wait longer and longer here, I think his value drops. He could go for a third round. I mean, a fourth and a sixth and a third, not a huge difference. This is more what I think here in the Broncos. I mean, they just straight up released a star safety in Justin Simmons today, so maybe they'd be willing to move on from some guys, just for less than their actual value. So fourth and a sixth. So in this video, I picked top 3 landing spots. There's some of these guys where I want to pick three teams, I want to pick 5 teams, I want to pick 10 teams, but challenge myself a little bit here. So if I had to pick 3 teams, which Jeudy's really tough because I think it's going to depend on who gets the other big-time receivers first, and then the leftover is kind of Jeudy. But Patriots, Browns, and Jets. We've talked about these teams around the deadline for Jeudy as well. I think the Panthers would rather hang on to their picks around this range of the draft. Maybe the Titans too, and draft the guy rather than trading for Jeudy. Limited teams with limited picks. To me, that makes sense. So those are the 3 teams that I think are the most likely, in my opinion, to trade for Jeudy. Let's go through all these receivers. T. Higgins would have to be a tag. I mean, he's already tagged. It'd be a tag and trade. So a team would trade for him on that tag, but they would very, very, very likely extend him, remove that tag by extending him. His value to me is a second and a fourth. Could somebody throw him a very late first-round pick? Can't rule that out. It's a big-time receiver, big-time young receiver. Second and fourth, second and third is possible as well. That's what I was feeling for the trade value. Second and fourth. Have to put the Titans on here. They are a little limited on draft picks, so that's tough. But what Brian Callahan over there, who coached T. Higgins, obviously in Cincinnati, he's the head coach of Tennessee Titans. They badly need receivers. It just makes too much sense there as a landing spot. The Giants are looking for legit outside receivers. Looking at free agency, some of the top tier receivers got taken off the board. T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Mike Evans, some of those guys with the tag, some of them not, or Mike Evans not, an extension, obviously, or a long-term deal, obviously. But the Giants are a team that has some money looking for a legit receiver, and the Patriots, once again, ton of spending money looking for a big-time receiver. And T. Higgins can go to a team like a contender or a team that is rebuilding or retooling because he's young. He's very good right now at the same time. So he kind of fits everybody. Obviously, he's an outside receiver. So if it's a team like strictly looking for a slot receiver, probably not in on T. Higgins. But those are my 3 favorites. Again, probably would put the Panthers on here, but man, they don't have a first-round pick. Could they afford to trade their second and something else? I don't think they could afford to do that. But Dave Canellis would love to have Higgins kind of as his Mike Evans in that type of offense, like he had in Tampa. The Bears aren't afraid to trade, but they're running thin on draft picks. They don't have a second-round pick, so otherwise they would be on here as well. But those are my 3 favorite. The Titans would be by far the favorite. Only obstacle is they're a little limited on picks as well. So, but they have that connection. That connection is a big thing in the NFL. And the same thing here at Brandon Aiyuk. Ran Carthon, who's the GM of the Titans, was with the 49ers. Obviously, that's where they hired him from, not this offseason, last offseason. And obviously, so he's familiar with Aiyuk. They need receivers pretty bad. Could be a little tricky again because they don't have the most picks, but team like that, I think it'd be worth it to take a hit to your draft picks. Getting a guy like T. Higgins or Brandon Aiyuk when they have the connections there as well. That definitely helps. The Giants, I'm going to keep bringing the Giants up as well. They're looking for a big time receiver. They've been struggling to find a legit one since they had OBJ. His value, I think, is around 1 or multiple day 2 picks. I mean, this is a guy that is going to be involved every week when you step on the football field. He's one of the better separators in the game. He's only getting better. He took a big step up this year, and there's other offenses where he'll probably actually get more targets, because he might be the future guy. Where the Niners, it's McCaffrey most of the time, but 1 week it's Aiyuk, 1 week it's Kittle, 1 week it's Debo. Some weeks it's a mixture of them, just not enough for Aiyuk. So, Titans, Giants, and the Jets. The Jets are going to be all in. It's going to be Super Bowl or bust window at Aaron Rodgers. They're clearing space to go get some stud players, but they got to fix that offensive line first. So I was a little hesitant with the Jets, but could put the Patriots up there. There's been some talk about the Raiders. They do have Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and currently they do have Hunter Renfrow. They did not cut him yet, or maybe they won't. But Aiyuk holds a lot of value for the Niners. They don't really want to trade him. Like, we don't know. I mean, maybe the Bengals don't really want to trade T. Higgins, but they may have tagged him thinking they would trade him. Like, right now, the Niners in the top of their minds, they're not thinking, let's trade Aiyuk. Let's do everything we can to keep him, but if we have to trade him, we better get something damn good. So that's why I think it could be a first-round pick and maybe a decent first-round pick if it happens. So we will see. More receivers. Deontay Johnson's name came up. I think this is more like speculation, rumors, fans coming up with stuff, rather than it's not as legit as the T. Higgins talk, or who knows, maybe he's traded. T. Higgins is not. Very possible. Interesting one in terms of trade value. I'm going to say round 2, but I do think Deontay Johnson will be going with a day 3 pick. In my opinion, that'd be the value. So a day 3 pick along with Johnson for a round 2. So I think a lot of people are going to say round 2, really? He's a little hot and cold. He maybe doesn't give his full effort. Sometimes, and I agree with that, but it's a really solid receiver that can play in the slot, play outside. But a big thing here is if a team trades for him, he only is going to cost $10 million against the cap. That is pretty cheap. That unless he demands like more money, or I haven't heard anything about that. All the other receivers like T. Higgins, he's a 21 point whatever cap hit, and you're gonna have to give him a big deal. Some of these other guys as well. So not a large cap hit for the acquiring team. That makes a pretty good value. And I've heard the Steelers, if they were to trade him, it'd have to be something really appealing. So I think it would take a round 2, but maybe something going back to whoever trades for Deontay Johnson. So teams that stood out, again, the Jets, this will be more affordable. I think they're looking for another receiver, but I mainly look at the Chiefs and the Falcons here. And the Falcons are looking for a guy that can play in a slot. Seems like a really good fit for that Zach Robinson offense, if he's to run like a Sean McVay offense, which I believe he will. It's a similar style. I mean, not the same in terms of talent, but like a Cooper Kupp type player. Quick, good route runner, get separation, can play from the slot. The Chiefs, I think, would like him a lot. And once they trade L'Jarius Sneed, who we'll talk about, and sign Chris Jones and probably backload that, they're going to actually have more money than they do right now. And you don't need a lot to trade for Deontay Johnson. So the Chiefs actually made the most sense out of all the teams there. But this one I'm not really fully counting on. I think it's just a lot of rumors popping up right now. Another receiver, Mike Williams, has been brought up. I heard the Chargers can just outright cut him. The Broncos just outright cutting Justin Simmons earlier today was maybe a bigger surprise, but maybe there's got to be some trade value for Mike Williams. Around a 3rd round pick, would usually say more, but he does have durability concerns. The Chargers could be desperate. They could be losing leverage, so 3rd round pick. Put up the Rams. And the Rams, they have good receivers. But I think they're looking for a big outside guy, like somebody they tried to get with Allen Robinson. They were going to be targeting Mike Evans if he didn't get re-signed by the Buccaneers. So Mike Williams makes some sense as what they're looking for, and they're going to try to contend this year too. So, and they're not afraid to make trades. Panthers, again, limited in picks. Would they be able to, would they give something up? It wouldn't take a whole lot to get Mike Williams, and I think this is that outside big body receiver that Dave Canales could be needing in Carolina, something they do not have. And to bring up the Patriots, again, they have a lot of space and badly looking for a receiver, in New England there. So, I see the Patriots popping up quite a bit for those reasons. Another tag and trade candidate, already tagged L'Jarius Sneed. It felt like the Chiefs planned on trading him off the tag. They could extend him if it's a pretty somewhat of a team-friendly deal. I'm going to go a 2nd round pick and a 5th round pick. It wouldn't surprise me if it was just a 2nd. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a 2nd and a 4th, or a 2nd and a 7th, or Could it be a late first and something going back to the other team acquiring him? That's possible as well. But second and fifth is what I felt good with. I like the Rams. They badly need corner. They're not afraid to make that splash trade. The F them picks mentality. They made a splash trade for a star corner in Jalen Ramsey that helped them obviously be a better team in a Super Bowl in the past. They made a trade when Marcus Peters was in his prime as well. And now they can do it with Sneed, just something that's right up their alley. Lions badly need a corner. Keep hearing they're going to target like a proven corner, and it's a little difficult to do in free agency since the top ones were tagged. Maybe a Kendall Fuller if it was going to be through free agency. Darius Williams, somebody like that. But Tre'Davious White's now a free agent as well. But they can make that trade for Sneed. It's a really solid fit. He ran a lot of cover 2 and man coverage with Kansas City. The Lions run a bit of that as well. I think a really good fit with the Steelers. Tough leaving some teams out. Really wanted to put the Jags or the Colts or the Cardinals, a few other teams in that spot. I just really like the scheme fit with the Steelers. They ran a lot more cover 2 last year, and Mike Tomlin in the past always was a lot of man coverage. So everything above, all the above, kind of fits Sneed. So I do like the fit of the Steelers. I really like the Rams and the Lions the most, and there could be any other team. I think there's a lot of teams interested in Sneed. Some rumors about his knees not being 100%, nothing major, but just not 100%. So could that play a factor here? Marshon Lattimore getting some buzz. The Saints are desperate to clear space. They have pretty good corners as it is. Marshon Lattimore is very, very good. Like if he stays healthy all year, he's arguably the best corner in football. That's the issue, though. He has the durability concerns. So Saints might get desperate, move on from him. Figure out the value is a little tricky because he's so good. Like he's an elite corner when he's on the field, but he's got to miss some games. That's the tough part there. But I think a round 2 pick, and it might seem a little bit much because he's a veteran guy. The younger guys are taking over at that position, but he's a damn good corner. But I think a round 2 pick in exchange for Marshon Lattimore and a day 3 pick going along with him to wherever he's going. 2 teams really stand out. Well, the third team is the Raiders. I'm looking for teams that run man coverage. There's a lot of teams that run man coverage, but I think the Raiders, Patrick Graham's defense, they could use a guy like that. They have some money as well, but who really stands? I almost want to put 2 teams, and he could go to a team I didn't even talk about. But the Lions and the Jags, I feel great about when it comes to Marshon Lattimore. Both looking for corners, both badly looking for corners. They both could afford them. Both teams going to run some man coverage, but they're going to mix it up as well. There's going to be cover 2, cover 4 in there for both those teams. But some strong connections there. Aaron Glenn, his background is defensive backs, and he's coming from the Saints, coaching the DBs over there, obviously a couple years ago. And that is the Lions defensive coordinator, so he is very familiar with Marshon Lattimore. And Ryan Nielsen is the Jags' new defensive coordinator. With the Falcons last year, did a hell of a job. Before that, he was with the Saints, so also familiar with Marshon Lattimore. Both those coordinators like having a top-tier corner on their team to get the most out of their defense, and they both teams need that. Obviously, a guy like Tyson Campbell could be that, but get even better here to pair Lattimore with him. So I do love those teams because of scheme fit, need, financially I like those teams, but there's connections there as well. So I love those fits. Absolutely love them. We'll see if something happens there. Carlton Davis's name's been brought up a little bit. Teams kind of sniffing around on him. Do the Bucs actually want to trade him? Interesting to see. Value, it could be a round 3 and a 5. Could get a round 2. Maybe something goes back with Carlton Davis. It's a possibility. He's a pretty good corner. He's not as good as Lattimore or Sneed, but he's a pretty good corner. Really solid in zone coverage. I cover 3, cover 4. That's mainly what I look at there when it comes to Carlton Davis. Lions, I keep hearing they're gonna target a veteran corner, so you have to mention them. They'll run a bit of cover 4, which he could fit. Again, I do like him in cover 4 and cover 3. The Colts are going to run a lot of cover 3. I like that a lot. They need a corner pretty bad. I feel like they're more likely to trade for somebody like this than to sign somebody. But there is a free agent corner. I like Awuzie for them a lot as a good fit. But they might need multiple corners. So I do like the fit there. And then the Rams. Rams typically run a lot of cover 4 as well. So I do like that fit. And it's another team that could make that splash trade for a corner. They may not be afraid to do. They're not afraid to do that. So some similar teams popping up when it comes to corners. Next, how about the edge rushers? This would be another tag and trade. Already tagged Brian Burns. So we got L'Jarius Sneed, T. Higgins, and Brian Burns, the guys that are currently tagged but could be traded off the tag. That is different. So another team could sign him technically, make an offer to these tag guys. In this case, the Panthers have a shot to match. If they don't match, then the Panthers get 2 first-round picks, or they can just talk trade while he's on the tag. That is the more likely route. But maybe somebody gives up 2 firsts, this year or next year for, while signing Brian Burns. Who knows? But I think his value is a round 1 pick. It could be a round 1 plus something else. It could be several day 2 picks on top of, so there's more to it than that. If it was multiple day 2s, it'd have to be quite a few, and then probably a day 3 pick. Round 1 and maybe something else with it, or could it be a lone middle of the first round, which I think the Rams would come into play there. Rams had interest in Burns in the past. They offered a lot more than they're going to have to offer now. They're going to need another pass rusher to pair with Byron Young, a young pass rusher out of Tennessee. And the Commanders definitely need one for Dan Quinn's defense. He wants to win right now. It's not a rebuild type of coach. I mean, they signed Zach Ertz. They're fine with getting veterans. Burns really not a veteran anyways, but I mean, not a long time veteran. But they're not afraid to go make those splash moves. They have a number of draft picks. New staff that traded the other defensive ends. So they would be willing to do that. And the Cardinals have a late first-round pick from the Texans, or they have a lot of picks throughout the rest of the draft as well. And then Jonathan Gannon is badly needing a big-time pass rusher. So Burns, another one of those guys that a contending team could trade for him because he's really good right now, or a rebuild or a retool or whatever team could trade for him because he's got a lot of upside. His best football is ahead of him. So kind of makes sense for a lot of teams here. I would really like the Falcons, but I don't think the Panthers trade him to in-division rival. But if they by far offer the most, and it's like I don't see it though, because they're not going to offer their top first-round pick. So yeah, I don't think the Falcons would happen via trade. But who knows? Hassan Reddick, we've talked about a bit. A lot of teams could be interested. It was tough to narrow it down to 3. I think his value is around 3. Could even be surprisingly less. Could be around 4. The Titans have, again, do they want to give up picks because they're kind of in need of picks? But they have some good connections there with new staff members on that defense. Coaching the Eagles, coaching, Hassan Reddick personally. So that's the connection thing is huge for me. So, and they could use another pass rusher. Rams, we talk about, they badly need another pass rusher. They're not afraid to make trades, and the Texans have kind of come up. Texans have come up with a lot of guys, though. I'm trying to sort out what's true, what's not, but they should be players. They should be buyers this offseason to kind of take that next step. They have spending money. So I do think it would be a pretty good fit in Ryan's defense over there. So would love the Ravens, but they're trying to sort it out financially right now. The Buccaneers could be one to watch, moving on from Shaq Barrett. Other things to focus on, though. There's quite a few teams. It's the Falcons, almost put the Falcons up here for sure. Lions. The Falcons are probably the next team. Tough to leave them out, but that's who I'm feeling for Hassan Reddick. Joey Bosa is a big one. I've heard Khalil Mack's name, and I've heard from legit sources say, there's talks about Khalil Mack. I mean, he comes with over a $23 million cap hit. Now, he was a monster. He is a monster. He was a monster last season. He's very good, but it's a lot of money to dish out while trading value for a guy that, typically does not play every game every year. And 2 years ago, he was declining. Could that come back up? I just would not do it. I wouldn't do it. I just don't know if if the team does it, it's got to be something cheap, in my opinion. So I don't know about that one. Joey Bosa's name's come up a little bit. Teams definitely love the idea of Joey Bosa. He has durability concerns, so he's been a little underwhelming, but tough to figure out the value because you think that name and how good he could be, you got to think first-round pick, right? But he hasn't really been playing a whole lot. The Chargers could be desperate. He hasn't been playing a whole lot because of durability concerns. So it could be a lone second. A second and a 6 made sense. It's a lot of money. Trade for, but if he's healthy, he's going to be really good. Still has some ball left in him. Like maybe he could improve even. Commanders badly need a big time defensive end in Dan Quinn's defense. Bring up the Texans again. Good fit in their defense, and then the Lions. I think they would like him as well. But would they dish out the draft picks for a durability? A player that has concerns around durability. So tricky one there. Not really one I'm counting on, but I don't really agree with the team trading for Khalil Mack unless it's like dirt cheap or unless the Chargers pay a portion, but they're trying to move on from the cap space. So I don't know. That's an interesting one. Jonathan Allen, defensive lineman, pretty versatile. Could play three technique. Could play D tackle. Could play defensive end. I think a round 2 and a round 4, probably at least. Like it's a Pro Bowl level player. He's versatile. Fits kind of today's game. Keep bringing up the Texans with these types of players. Just these guys that happen to be available just seem to really fit a DeMeco Ryans defense. So it's probably my favorite fit for Jonathan Allen. Use them both defensive end and D tackle, a lot of 3 technique and move them around a bit. Cardinals, I think Jonathan Gannon would like to have him. And I thought, Vikings maybe looking for another piece that can get after the quarterback in terms, probably that 3-4 end, the defensive end spot in that Brian Flores scheme. But Texans and Cardinals kind of stood out by far the most there. But, yeah, it's going to depend on what Dan Quinn, how he feels. It almost, is he going to value the interior? Didn't really do it in Dallas. Is he going to use him at the end? I think he's more so a D end in Dan Quinn's defense, like a DeMarcus Lawrence, but would he rather have more athleticism out there? So you trade Allen, get more picks, trade for a Brian Burns. I can definitely see it. A lot has to happen there, but I can see it. Quarterbacks, Justin Fields. Yeah, there was a lot of buzz about him, but then it kind of died down. But I don't think the interest in Justin Fields ever was up here and died down. I think it's kind of always been the same. I think kind of the fans, the media have been hyping up a little bit. I think it's going to take other teams missing on somebody to go kind of look into Justin Fields. I think his value could be a second. I have a third and a fifth. It's almost equivalent to a second. Third and a fifth makes a little more sense to me. I wouldn't even be shocked if it was a lone third. I wouldn't be shocked if it was a lone second. A lot of Twitter talk of first round or swapping crazy swaps, not just like a 1-pick swap. First round, there's no way. So in the issue, what I said in the past too, it's this guy's got a lot of talent. This guy has a lot of talent. He has some upside still, but hasn't fully put it together. Has not been that clutch at the end of games. Hasn't been able to find ways to win. Hasn't really fully figured it out. But a lot of talent. Hasn't played a whole season. He's missed games in every single season. And he's kind of nearing towards the end of his contract. So it comes a big decision coming up for whoever trades for him. So these things kind of drop his value a little bit. And the Bears are going to take quarterback first overall and want to do right, actual quote, do right by Justin Fields. It kind of drops his value. But our team, the Bears could wait. They should wait. Don't be desperate to trade him. See if a team gets desperate for a quarterback. Then you get that second round pick perhaps, or third and fifth is, again, pretty equivalent to that. A little tricky to figure out. I've been saying for a long time the Falcons should be after Kirk Cousins, and now it turns out they are after Kirk Cousins, and I even heard Baker Mayfield is option 2, and then it's between for Fields and a draft for option 3 perhaps, or maybe Russell Wilson. So you have 3 options to decide between for option 3 after those guys. I don't love him as a fit. I've talked about that in the past. But the Falcons do seem like the most realistic. I think this first step is Kirk Cousins maybe going back to the Vikings rather than the Falcons. I like the Giants. I love that fit. The issue there is if they traded for Fields, I know a lot of us probably think he should start over Daniel Jones, but my money would be on them. It depends on what they traded, but I feel like they will start. There's some reports that they're going to stick with Daniel Jones. There's some reports that they're done with Daniel Jones. So who knows what's happening? Some reports they can look to add a quarterback here like this or in the draft. Who knows? A lot of it is smoke, but if they did trade for Fields, I think chances are they probably would start Daniel Jones week 1, and that's going to cause problems. So that's the reason I wouldn't see it, but I would like him in Dayball's offense. Steelers maybe more likely to go the Pickett and Russ route, but if they miss on Russ, maybe. I think a wild card, not mentioned at all yet, I think Seattle. But he would be a backup right away too, so how is he going to feel about that? But yeah, it's a tricky one to trade. Tricky situation for the Bears because I don't think there's any teams throwing, we need this guy badly. Not really the case, so that's the tricky part there for Justin Fields, but we'll see what happens. I think everything's going to happen rapid fire all of a sudden. We're waiting, and all of a sudden, okay, Kirk Cousins is going to sign there. That kind of creates a domino effect there, so we'll see. Trey Lance, value, do I think his value should be a 4th round? I think like yourself out there, you're probably saying no, his value probably shouldn't be a 4th round pick, but that's what the Cowboys traded for traded away to get him. So I think for them to trade him away, I think they would need that. I wouldn't completely rule out trading gaining a 5th round pick. I'm not counting on it, but it's not going to be a 6 or a 7. There's been a report that watch out for him going to Minnesota for a 3rd. I don't see it being that much, but I can't completely rule it out. The Vikings were brought up a lot with Lance. He's from Minnesota. They're looking for the quarterback of the future, so it kind of makes sense. Vikings were a little tight on cap during the year last year, so then the Cowboys traded for him. So maybe the Vikings, kind of wanted somebody to stash him basically, and maybe the Cowboys knew that, like, hey, we might be able to flip this. Remember the Cowboys gave away their own pick. A team like the Vikings pick would actually be better, so they'd actually move up in the draft. So better for the Cowboys. Giants, they could. I don't really see a reason why they wouldn't trade for a rival with this situation. If the Cowboys don't want this quarterback, then they know what he's about. They don't want him. If they improve their draft pick, by flipping him like a half a year later, not even, I think they'd be fine with it. In the Broncos, it seems like a guy that Sean Payton would like to work with, a little cheaper. They're a little. I mean, they cleared a lot of space with the surprise cut of Justin Simmons today, but so maybe they're planning for a Baker Mayfield or Kirk Cousins. I think more so Baker if they were going to make that splash move. But Trey Lance I think could fit as well, so that'd be another team to kind of watch out for there. And then Zach Wilson, we've talked in the past. I only have 2 landing spots. I've talked about this in the past. Niners and Rams. Love Niners and Rams. And there's actually reports now that Niners and Rams are teams to watch. So I was on to something there. Value round 6 or 7. Could it be a swap of picks? It's just both sides. Wilson and the Jets just really want to move on. It feels like they're both in agreement on that. So they may just give him away, to be honest, and just clear a little bit of cap space and just gain an extra low pick. They might just give him away. Again, 6 or a 6-7 swap, or a 7 or a 7 or a 7 future pick swap. Could see any of the above there. If they got, I think it's just a lone 6 would be a win for the Jets, and it's very possible. If they got better than a 6, I mean, clap it up. I think that's huge. For the Jets. Curious what they're doing this offseason, because they're going to go all in, Super Bowl or bust, and if that, it could backfire big time, but it should be fun. Obviously, they could be a very good team if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy. So there you have it. That was 15 legit candidates in my favorite landing spots in the value in my opinion. This is not going to be 100% accurate, so I don't want anybody getting bent out of shape like they always do. But we have a very similar video that just went up for my top free agents. We got a lot more free agents to go over, so a couple more videos at least with those predictions. Then next week, free agency starts on Monday. We'll be having a bunch of videos with my grades for the signing. So love that. My favorite times of the year, that and the draft. So if you join us, help us get to 100K. Check out our sponsors, GLD, Liquid IV, Code GO. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.